So yesterday we did the design sprint, and I'm sure you enjoyed the design sprint with Kavita and Michael. And we still have to complete that. So we will do that today after Supreet does the storytelling. But before we dive into the storytelling, maybe the check-in question is, can you share your favorite movie and why? And maybe I will start by saying,
Okay.
yeah, Kajal, go ahead.
Okay. So hi everyone. Good morning. So one of my favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption, and the reason why it is in my favorite list is that it gives hope in a way, and how one can achieve the target somehow, like by doing one or the other thing.
Thanks, Kajal. That's a great movie. Hi, Kavita. We are just doing a quick check-in on what's your favorite movie and why. So I wouldn't say it's my favorite movie, but it's my favorite serial, and it's Lupin. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it's about this modern Robin Hood. He steals from the rich and gives to the poor, but it's so interesting the way he does it, and I just enjoy that. The whole series. So I'm waiting for the next season to come in. Yeah, Kajal, enjoy it. Maybe Supreet, you want to share, or we'll wait for you to share later. Maybe Michael, you want to go ahead and share.
Oh, geez, my favorite movie. I really like this movie called Fargo, um, and the TV show as well that they made about it. I think that's, but why? I'm not really sure. It's kind of weird, and it's a really funny premise, and it's about it's like this murder mystery, but it's set in this really quiet town in northern, kind of near Alaska, and it's just really crazy. So I think that's probably one of my favorites.
Anybody else wants to share before we turn it to Supreet? Their favorite film or series and why?
My favorite film is The Fundamentals of Caring, and because it's basically it kind of shows a very hopeless situation in a very fun and like good light. It's basically about this one particular teenager who has Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and this caregiver, and they actually take like a road trip and everything, and it's just really hopeful.
All right, thank you for that. And thanks, Elsa. Hi, everyone. I've not met everyone here. My name is Supreet, and I'm Elsa's partner at Red Dot Foundation. I'm also a filmmaker and a yoga acharya. So I dabble in a few things and change my hats. And so I don't have any one film that I love. I find something interesting in almost every film that I watch. Some of the latest film that I saw, I'm going to show one of them to you a little later into the session, but I think Joker was brilliant. Godfather, of course, is an all-time favorite. I don't think anyone has managed to make another Godfather. I love Tarantino. I love his films. So yeah, there's something about every film that I love. I have a different reason why I like them. But before we move forward, so today we are going to do storytelling session, which is in films, which is about capturing visuals and how can you make it impactful? What are you trying to do in these visuals? I suppose you're going to be making short reels on the solutions that you feel might be relevant and might help. So I'm going to start with a short film, animated film, Now, this is an Oscar-winning film. It is only 3 minutes, but it took the director 3 years to make it. All right, it won the Oscar for the best animation short. So I'm going to share that, and then we are going to talk. All right. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Can you hear the music?
Yes.
All right. I need to stop it, sorry. Okay, all right. So, can we all have your videos on? I want to have a chat. I don't want to do a one-sided monologue with everyone. This is a visual space we are in where we are trying to create something. We are going to talk about things. So it would be great if I can see you all. Unless, of course, you really have a reason not to put on your video. Okay, all right. So you saw that movie. The name was Piper, but you read what it wrote in the end. Make joy happen, right? So if you go and watch any film that's an Academy Award winner, or which has been nominated for Oscars, there's always one thing in the end of a film, which is hope, in whatever small form. All right. So it's very important to know that. And why did I make you watch the whole credit roll? Because that's the respect you give to a filmmaker. So when you make films and you have a team with you who has put it together, it's important for the world to sit and take notice of each one of you who puts in something. All right. Okay. Now let's go to what makes a story happen. What goes into a story? What are the ingredients? So you saw a short film. So what was there? There was a character. There's a character you would like to care about, somebody you can be empathetic about, right? Then there's a circumstance. So there's a plot. So they're setting up a situation in which that character is or finds himself. Then there is a conflict. So the three C's: the character, the circumstance, and then the conflict. So what's the hurdle that character has faced, whether it's internal, whether it's external, but there's a hurdle, right? And then there's this pot of gold. At the end of, if you get over that hurdle, you're going to get this pot of gold, which can be anything. But it's not always reaching that pot of gold, which is the story. The story is actually this character's journey through that circumstance, through that conflict, on reaching that pot of gold. And that pot of gold can just be a change of perspective. Like in this film, of course, the fish also comes as a pot of gold, but the change of perspective is what made him do what he did. So why did I show you this film? One, it was very simple to explain what I'm saying through this film. It's very short. You are going to make shots on whatever you plan to make create. So it was important for you to understand that. A film must have a message, always. There's either a call to action or there's a message about what journey that person has taken. What is that emotional click that has happened in that person? All right. So can you all write in the chat section if you don't want to put on your videos or unmute yourself and tell me, what is that one thing you took back from this film? What was that one thing which was important in this film that you're going to take back, apart from the fact it's an Oscar winner? And it took 3 years for the director to make it. Can you put it in the chat section or just unmute yourself and talk to me?
Like for example, the bird is in the first few scenes the antagonist for the film, but in the later scenes when we see the backstory of the bird, we empathize with the antagonist as well, and is no longer the mainstream antagonist.
Right, absolutely. So perspective changes when you see the other side of the story. So when you write a story, you must have every character's circumstance also clearly mentioned. So you know where is that journey taking you. Coexistence, yes, Kavita, absolutely. We can all live in harmony together, yes. Okay, somebody wrote Squid Game, the one they like, of course. That's one of the shows people are loving right now. Okay, all right. So I'm going to tell you a story now, okay? Tell me what you learn from it. So there is a small village and there's a small boy who lives in that village with his grandfather. And one day there's a circus which comes to that village. So while he's walking towards his school, he watches people setting up, the circus people setting up everything. And he looks at this huge elephant and it's tied on one of its leg with a small iron wrought iron, what is that called? That peg in the ground. But the rope is only this much, right? The rope is this much, and it's really fragile. And the elephant is huge. So he asks his grandfather, he says, does that really hold the elephant back? So he said, clearly, he's standing there. So it must be very strong. So he's not convinced. Okay, so he comes back from his school, he watches the elephant again. So the next 2-3 days, he keeps on looking at it and he watches this man who's taking care of the elephant. So he goes to that man one day on his way back from school to home and he says, is that rope so strong that it can hold such a huge elephant? So the man says, no. When he was a baby, he was tied with the same rope when he was really small. And so now he thinks he can't break it. So what do you think? What's happening here? Why do you think is the elephant not able to break that rope and go away? Do you think he can't? It's so strong. What do you think is the reason? Come on. Trauma?
Yes.
Why do you say trauma?
Because in the early years of the elephant, he was defenseless and was tied. So that has embedded in his unconscious in a way.
Okay.
He's been conditioned to believe that that rope is stronger than him because when he didn't, and he hasn't challenged that belief.
Right. Kanishka, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it was the same point that when he was tied in the childhood, when he was small with that rope, I guess that fear is in his heart somewhere, and he has that maybe that mental thinking that he cannot break it because at that time when he was small, he couldn't break it. So he carried that baggage with him till now, that that rope is stronger than him, despite him being stronger than the rope now.
Right. And for all of you, Kajal, go ahead. Kajal, I can see your hand. You want to go ahead? You unmute yourself.
So,
Kajal, we can't hear you. Okay, while Kajal tries to work that, Ria, you want to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I guess it's imbibed in his psyche that the way he did.
Who is this? I think Kajal is muted. I don't know what is happening.
Ma'am, I think it's the voice lag. So, yeah, it's better now.
Go ahead, Priya. Go ahead.
So I think it's imbibed in his psyche, the way that as kids, there were some of us who had hydrophobia, so we were scared of water. So till date, even when we see a pool, there's this thing, there's a click in the back of our mind which says that there's water. So just like that, there must be something which is there in his heart going up telling him that there was an incident attached to this.
Okay, fair enough. There could be an incident. What is that one message that you all get when you look at that elephant and you know that just because when he was a baby, he was tied to that peg on the floor with just that same rope, which is really fragile? What message does it give you for yourself? So the message is that he's himself holding him back. Nobody else is. That is the message. So you all have the choice of moving forward, of breaking the shackles. It takes one person to do that, and that is you yourself. So see, it's a very small story, but look at the message that it gives us, right? Very clearly. So when you make a story, when you put a story down, whether it's in 4 lines, whether it's in 15 seconds, that's the kind of messaging that should go out. It has to be that impactful, simple and impactful. All right. So I'm going to now show you, yes, he's only limited by his own mind. Sonali, that's absolutely right. And Kajal has finally managed to put it in the chat box. It's just like the stereotypes that has been imbibed with us. That is correct. So the only person holding us back is we. Right. So I want to show you one more film. Give me a second.
Supreet, also try sharing the audio at the bottom of that share screen.
Okay, all right. Can you all see this?
Yes.
All right. So just watch this. Don't have anything in mind, which is why we went through the first couple of films and the story that I just told you. Keep an open mind when you watch this.
Army was asleep in the nurse's arms. She didn't notice the noise around her. She was calm and didn't know that 1 hour before, the nurse was still struggling to get her to breathe. Army was asleep. She didn't know that only that same morning she was traveling in her mother's womb in a canoe to get to the hospital. Army didn't know that her mother was only 18 years old and exhausted from giving birth to Army's twin brother in a village 24 hours earlier. Army didn't know that when she and her mother finally arrived at the hospital, there was no midwife, and that she was lucky to even be alive, since her country, Sierra Leone, had one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. Army was asleep. She didn't know that behind a door, the only doctor at that hospital was giving her mother a blood transfusion. She didn't know that her mum had lost too much blood to survive. Army didn't know that she and her brother would grow up with a feeling of missing something essential, which the other children had. Today, Army is 25. Since that morning when she was lying in her nurse's arms, the maternal mortality rate in the world has nearly halved. But still, there are 830 women dying every day from pregnancy or childbirth, 99% of them in developing countries. Still, women travel to hospitals by canoe. Still, there is a lack of doctors and midwives. Nearly all maternal deaths could be prevented if women had access to essential maternity and healthcare services. Army has just given birth to a girl. Both she and her daughter are alive. Army knows they're lucky. Did you know?
All right. So you're learning how to put your stories and videos in impactful ways. What did you learn from this film that you just saw? Come on, anyone. There's nothing right or wrong. We are still learning. We all are learning. Scorsese still says he's still learning. So come on.
The graphics were so creative. I mean, the way they were going in flow with the voiceover, the kind of strategically it was put in the way the characters were flipping. It was just creative.
All right. The characters were creative. The way it was flowing was nice. All right. Anybody else?
I think it was a telling of a tragedy, and with tragedies, like unfolding of a story is really important because it can go in any way, it can impact in any way. So that was done with very good skill.
Yes, Kushagra, that's true. So they did
And
it very beautifully. Yes, sorry.
And also, when we talk casually, we just talk, like we just speak. But when there's something which is very sensitive and which is something that we actually want people to hear, there's a separate voice modulation, and that was there in the voiceover. Plus the music that was playing in the background.
Right. Absolutely. Anybody else? Is there anything that's left somebody's not said? or something any of you have noticed which nobody else has brought out? All right, Michael, yes, it was really interesting perspective to take it from. Elsa, yes, the use of colors of such a terrible story helps you absorb it in a much more positive way than to let it affect you with a little bit of negativity. That is true. But what did you learn about storytelling in this? There is a voiceover. There is a modulation of tone, like somebody mentioned. I don't know whether it was Ria or Kushagra. Somebody mentioned the way they modulated their tone when they were telling the story, right? There was music. That music added to the empathy you felt for Amy, didn't you? Didn't it feel sad when the mother disappeared from the picture, right? So why this film for you? Of course, apart from all these things, the music matters, and empathy, a connect to the small little baby matters. It's about translating the ownership of the story to somebody. This is a true story, all right? So the narrative matters, how are you narrating it? So what is that one thing that stuck out? Why were you so connected to the story? Because Amy was a baby. And it hurts you to know that that baby is without a mother. And then you say, why is she without a mother? Because the mother was only 18 and she couldn't bear the childbirth because she lost so much blood. 880 women die because of this. Oh my God, what can we do to save them? Really, if we have medical facilities, actually, can we save all these mothers and all the Amy's can actually have their mothers with them? Yes. So why don't we do something about it? Can you see how it very fluidly took you to call to action? Right? It also showed one more thing. You don't need cameras. You don't need major sound equipment. You don't need lights. You can put together pictures and you can flip through the pictures while you're telling the story. What matters is the story behind those pictures. You can pick up royalty-free music and put it with that, depending on what is the tone, what is the mood of your story. And if you notice towards the end, the music can either be hopeful like it was in the earlier film we saw, or it can continue with pathos like it did with this, because it's still trying to move you. So which is that film out of the two that, which one is still with you right now? Which is still making you move here? Between the two films, come on, all of you. Which is the film which is still moving you in here? Okay, now I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Do what I do, just pick.
Okay.
I'd say the second one. The second one.
The second one.
Second one.
Last one.
Okay, all right.
There was something in it which is just, like every time that you're speaking, I can literally recall it playing in the back of my mind. So it's just there, trapped.
Yes. Shivam, what do you say? Which one stood stuck to you? Shivam, Uday? So either these guys are not here or they just don't want to talk, or nothing happened to them watching these films. Never mind, I'm not going to put you on a spot. That's okay. All right. So now we learned something from here. I'm going to tell you one more story. Okay. We have time, so don't worry. I'm going to tell you one more story. So there were these group of frogs, a family of frogs, friends out there. It's like a community which is going from one part of the jungle to another. And while it's crossing, there's a ditch on the side and two frogs fell in. All right. Now these two frogs tried to jump so that they could come out. Now, what is the community doing? The rest of them, they all are standing around that pit and they're saying, listen, it's too deep. You're just going to, there's no point. I mean, it's okay. We all have to die at some point and, forget about it. So one of the frogs tried for another half a minute or minute, and then he let it be. he let go and he fell deeper into the pit and he died. The other frog, he kept on jumping. And the rest of the community kept saying, listen, there's no point. Why are you wasting energy? Just save it. Enjoy the last few moments. Come on, come on. Don't do this. After around 6-7 minutes, the frog managed to jump out. So the community said, why didn't you listen to us? We were telling you it's of no use. He said, but I was listening to you. He said, really? He said, yeah, I'm a little deaf. So I thought you were motivating me and encouraging me to jump higher so that I could come out. And he did come out because he thought they were encouraging him. So what do you learn from this story?
Resilience.
Resilience. Okay, now think about it as somebody who just heard this story, and then think about it as a filmmaker, as somebody who's going to be telling a story. Come on, I'm going to start taking names if I don't have people talking. I'm a terrible teacher, okay? I can be a hard task master. Come on, Varun.
Self-motivation.
Self-motivation, okay. But was it self-motivation or was he actually listening to what the community was saying? Varun, go ahead.
Ma'am, I guess either of the way. We have to, according to me, we have to first hear to our inner voice, what our inner voice says to us. If our inner voice says we can do it, and at first thought we think that, okay, I can do it. And then after that, I can hear from what others say to me. Like, is it okay or not?
Okay. Bhavya?
As you said that you wanted to know from a filmmaker's perspective, I think that a filmmaker might be trying to show a particular scene the way he is interpreting it, but the audience and various sectors of audience may perceive it in their different ways, and the film will whole make out when it is given to the audience. It might be delivered in a completely form the director or the producer has never thought about it.
Okay, all right.
Basically, it's about perception.
Perception.
And perspective, different perspectives.
Right. Anybody else? There's still one point missing. Belief, listen to the heart, perseverance, listen and hear what you want to hear. Okay, you all are right in a way, but the frog was a little deaf, you forgot. And he said, but I was listening to you guys, and I thought you guys were encouraging me to jump higher. He was not listening to what he wanted to listen. He could actually only listen to that much. Come on, come on. So as a filmmaker, what is important is the message. Everything you say through your story has an impact on somebody. So be cautious and conscious of what kind of messaging are you giving out. You must think of the impact it's going to have on people. That's a responsible filmmaker, a responsible storyteller. Yeah? Okay, now it's only me saying, yeah, okay, all right. I want all of you to be...
Absolutely agreed.
right.
I have a question. Can storyteller have a control over the message? Because if that's the case, then how is a film that is made for art different from a propaganda?
So a filmmaker will always be able to put across the message that he wants to put across. You don't have a control on how it is going to be consumed, clearly. If all those films you have seen so far in Bollywood, which are objectifying women, most of the directors always say that I did not mean to do that, right? But that's how the people are taking it. If I was showing stalking of a girl, for me, it was love, right? But we as as responsible filmmakers, because you're working on something which is extremely sensitive, you will have to be double cautious about how you are putting that message across. Art films are a different kind of films. So this is not a film appreciation session, right? We are only trying to understand as to, if you want to tell a story, what is the most impactful way? And because you're not filmmakers, what are the tools that I can give you which make you responsible to put across your message in the most impactful way, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so everyone, we can probably, if you guys are interested, one day we can do a film appreciation course as well. But for this session, I will show you another couple of films. I want you to think about now, whichever film you watch, think about how is it impacting you, okay? The films that we are making are about a very sensitive um, topic. They can either impact someone negatively, okay? So giving trigger warnings is important. So the next film I'm going to show you is a film that we made for Safe City, which is Red Dot Foundation. So when you look at it, I'm already giving you a trigger warning. We have not written it on the film, but we always put a slide when we play that, before we play that. So watch it from the point of view at how does it impact you? What do you feel while you're watching and while you're seeing what's happening on the screen? And then by the end of it, what do you feel? Is there something you want to do about it? Okay, just keep your mind open, and then when we come back, you're going to share with me these few points so that we can understand whether we managed to meet the goal that we had with this film. All right, thumbs up at least, guys, come on. This is not a monologue. Kushagra and Kavita, thank you, and Ria and Sonali. All right, okay, so I'm going to share my screen and show you this film now. Take a moment. Take a sip of water. Breathe. All right. Before we start sharing, if anyone is feeling overwhelmed, please feel free to just put it in chat to me, and I will not ask you to speak. You want to take a moment, please take a moment. All right. So a few things about this film. These are all real events. The characters are obviously not real. Some of the women did not survive those incidents. So this is the closest. These are actually the places where that incident took place. These are the closest to those places because we couldn't really go across India. So now, who would like to share? So what were you feeling while you were reading the stories of these girls who were holding that placard telling you their stories? And what do you feel now once you have stopped watching that film? Who would like to share? Kajal?
The film is still running in the mind.
Okay.
I think we were so connected with the whole video that we could experience that particular thing, whatever was written on the cards, and how their facial expressions were blank, and we could feel the pain in that. And talking about the present situation, I think this all the stories are with us even now.
Thank you, Kajal.
I guess because the visuals were so strong, they really made you think about what was happening and what was written and how the survivors must have felt or what they're feeling at that given point of time. And even the expressions, like everything about the film, it encapsulated that whole feeling of like empathy, but as well as disgust at the whole situation that women have to go through that.
And
Like,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please go.
no, go ahead. I'm done.
So, in the moment when there was this little girl who had the board with her, the way it was zoomed in and the innocence on her face, the expressions captured, and the way they were shown, and then zoom in and zoom out, and then the text changing, it just gives you, your heart skips a beat if you're actually pertaining to the cause and you're actually hearing and reading all of that. Then that clicks you. So yeah.
And also in the end, where the faces of every survivor zoomed and showed, oh my god, that gave me chills.
Kanishka?
Yeah, so I don't know if someone has mentioned this point because I was lagging a lot, but I'd like to mention it since this is what I felt. I felt that without any voice, without any communication, they were able to make such a great impact just with those expressions and the words written, which is really a big task to do because grabbing the attention in film is very important, and people usually do it with voices. As you have seen documentaries and all, the voice is usually the whole thing which holds attention of people, but here without any communication verbally, only just with the non-verbal cues they did out. I guess I really got impacted, and like I really felt a bang in my heart when I was reading all this. So like it was a great film for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Kanishka. That is true. When I was making this film and I was contemplating as to how can you put in words this experience that all these girls have gone through, which will have the same impact. And I couldn't bring myself to have dialogue. So I said, let's go silent. Let's just put music behind these incidents. So it was a process. I think I took around a couple of months before I could come up with this music, come up with how I really wanted to shoot it, who were these characters. Couple of them are my ADs from my films. They're my assistants from my feature film that I'm working on. So, I mean, I took random people who really believed in what was happening. None of these girls have actually, thank God, none of them have faced any of those things that they were talking about. Other than me, everyone else just came in solidarity with all those women whose stories we were telling. 90% of those women are not alive whose stories you just read. So, what makes it strong? What made this film strong? One is these are real stories, of course. These girls are actually feeling that story. I gave them their story, the incident they are holding. So the first girl is actually somebody who also worked with us at Safe City, Priya. And she actually read her story. And I said, you just need to imbibe Nirbhaya and just stand in front of the camera. And she did that. That's what everyone did, other than the kids. Of course, we didn't put the kids through that. That was a different form of direction. The music makes your heart move, right? It wrenches your heart. Oh no, right? So silence. There are no dialogues. There's no lyric. There are no lyrics to the music. So why did I show you this film? Because it gives me goosebumps even today when I watch it. After, I think I made it in 2017. It's been 4 years. But the impact is very strong. You're going to go out and make your 30-second reels, maybe a 1 minute of film. So this is to tell you what are the things, what ingredients you can use or not use to still make a very impactful film. Okay? And the timing doesn't matter. 30 seconds can just do it for you. It's okay. All right?
Yeah, did I tell you that it gave me chills? I'm still a bit stumped after watching it, and it really gave me shivers when it ended. So yeah.
And this is so smart. I mean, the art of having a voiceover and knowing when to not have a voiceover. This is so smart just to have the right impact. And it's smart and at the same time so strategic to be able to know what is the right place where things more than words and music itself speaks.
Right, Riya. I mean, it's truly said, silence can speak multitudes. You don't really need words sometimes. And clearly here we didn't, like Elsa also said, it gives her goosebumps every time. It gives me goosebumps. I think while we were editing it, while I was putting music on it, every moment was like, what are we making? But that's what you need to create. You create one piece of art, you create one small clip, but let it be that impactful, because you all are trying to reach a call to action with your films. Unless you can move somebody. So this is a saying, okay? So what does filmmaking mean to you? What should this clip that you're making, what should it do? What is the kind of impact that you want to create? Think about it for a moment and tell me, what is the impact you want to create with this film? What should it do to people who are watching it? Like, I am getting much more with this film that I made. Much more. Saying is, I'm so happy. It makes me happy that we could create something like this, What is it that you want? What kind of response do you want from people with the clips that you're going to make? Take a moment, think about it, and then raise your hand and let's share it with everyone.
Also, yesterday, Supreet, people were concerned about whether they should film it outside or inside. And now I think you've seen many examples where you don't even have to go out and film anything. You can use pictures, you can, do voiceovers, etc. Right? So I hope that question has been answered.
I will give you a quick, thanks, Elsa. I will give a quick list of things that you need to take care of while you're shooting. You don't have cameras, you'll be using your smartphones, I'm sure. So if somebody has a camera, great, but you don't really need it. So I will give you some quick tips on how to shoot good films on your phones also. But before that, So I'll tell you, for me, a good story, a good film should be able to guide the heart to move your mind. If I touch your heart, your mind is going to move to do something on its own, which happened with this last film, right? You all are touched. Most of us are touched. And that's making us think, right? And that is what your film needs to do for everyone. Okay? So move the heart. The mind is going to move on its own. So connect with people's heart. That's where change happens. The change will not happen in the mind. The change will happen in the heart. And then it will be sustainable because you'll take it forward. Okay? All right. So I hope everyone's listening, because clearly it's only Kanishka and me looking at each other, but fair enough. Thanks, Kaju. Okay. All right. So a few things that you need to take care of when you're making your film. So put your story together. It's okay to spend time over it. It's very good to thank. Good, Ria. Good to see you. Tanya, Sheila, Elsa, thank you also, Ali. All right. So put a real-time story always helps because it's real. You don't need to do much research, right? It's already there. And a real film will always, a real story will always move your heart because it's real. So pick up your story, put it in the format. What do you want to see? You've seen so many films, right? So let's say the first film you saw, The Piper, who were your characters? There was little dog, there was his master, there was that crane, her 3 kids. So these were the characters. Write down your characters, put down what is the hurdle that your hero or heroine is facing. What is that? I'm saying hero, heroine, protagonist, so to say, or antagonist, whoever that may be. What is the hurdle? What is the conflict? Is it an outwardly conflict, or is there an inwardly conflict? Is it within herself or himself, right? And then how will that protagonist get over it? What is that journey of getting over that conflict? What are you going to do, right? Like Safe City web platform is an answer for the women who want to report about sexual violence that they have faced or sexual harassment they've faced. So there's a way to get over that hurdle. How do they share? They have a place they can share, right? And what is that pot of gold? In this case, it will be feeling happier that you're not alone, feeling happy that you've told it to somebody. Somebody might be using this data to make a change in the world where maybe somebody else will not face it again. So what is that change that you are trying to bring about? So the story of your protagonist in the circumstance that he or she is, getting over that conflict and reaching that place where she wants to be. That's your film. All right, so write it down. Break it down to every frame. In the first frame, I'll have Kanishka sitting there and all of a sudden she smiles. Okay. Second, Ria is writing something. That's what I'm going to show. Then I'll have Sheila against a really brightly lit this thing because I don't want to show her face. But if you want to show her face, make her face the window. All right. So break down your film like that. Okay. Always, if you have dialogues, make sure that the person pauses before and after and holds the expression. Otherwise, you won't know how to edit or put it together. Okay. If you have dialogues, write down the dialogues and write it down in a way that they are impactful. These are short films you're making. You don't have much time. So be very mindful about what all you're going to do. Be mindful about the number of people in your film. You can't have 20 characters in a 30-second film where the story is only about one person. You lose the story. It will become diluted. Okay. So that's what you keep in mind. You don't need a budget. You can do it inside house, outside house, on your terrace, in any social space. If it's with your phone, you don't need permission. Sometimes you will need BMC permission. So be mindful about that. All right. Few things to be mindful about when you're shooting with your phone. Make sure your phone is on airplane mode. You'll be shooting and somebody will be calling or messaging. Okay. Make sure your phone is full on charge. The battery is full. Okay. Make sure there's enough space in your phone. We are filling up our phone. Sometimes you don't have enough space. If you have the option of shooting high res, shoot high res. Always shoot horizontal unless it's for Insta Reels, which is vertical. Okay. Whoever you are shooting, whoever your object is, make sure that person is facing the light. So you can see the face better. It will not pixelate also if you're facing light, if the light is good. All right. Your frame should either be half, so the person is in the middle, or it can be 1/3 and 2/3. Okay, your spacing, your framing should be that. Yes, always keep a little bit of space on top of the head, because if you want to put those, black lines on the top and the bottom, then you will cut most of the face, otherwise this much will go. So always keep space. So Michael is perfect. That's the amount of space, or Vaibhavi is also great. The light is perfect on Michael's face, so I don't know what he's doing, but he also has white walls, you see. Sorry, Michael. So white walls reflect. So sometimes if you are inside and you don't have enough light, you can use a, what is that called? That white, you can use a white sheet or white cardboard, you can just put it under here. Yes. So you can just put it under your face. It will light up your face like this. Can you see the difference? Can you see there's a slight light which comes up under my chin? So that's with a white paper you can do. You don't, or a foil, you can use a foil also, silver foil. Very simple hacks that you can take care of. Music, try to get royalty-free music. If you want to put it up on social media, somebody might plan to sue you if you're using somebody else's music. Make sure you're stable. Don't move too much, because then I can't watch it. If you watch something which is moving too much, your eyes will start hurting. So don't do that. Try to find a place which is quieter, okay? Because there's not much sound if you have dialogues. If you don't have dialogues, shoot anywhere. You're anyway going to mute it and you're going to put your music, or you're going to have a voiceover, all right? If you can't shoot, it is okay. You can put pictures together, take photographs in different action ways, okay? And put those pictures together and have a voiceover narrating the story. I know I'm making it sound simple, and it is that simple. You can try it, hit and try. These are your phones. It's not like you have to buy something or invest in something, nothing at all. All right. Some of the softwares you can use, iMovie for iPhone is the simplest of it. Of course, professionals use Adobe Premiere. They use Final Cut Pro. But iMovie is the simplest. I'm not very sure what Android has yet, but I will find out and I'll share it with you. You do get royalty-free music on the net. Just key in royalty-free music and you'll get it. You can play in loops. Try not to have verbal or words in the music, because you don't know what meaning that might have. So try to use instrumental music with your narrative as a voiceover, right? And in the end, always have a call to action, whatever your call to action is. All right, now, do you have any questions?
Supri, just talk about consent and filming kids, please.
Yeah, all right. So consent is important, clearly. If you're showing anyone in your films, even if there's somebody in the background, you need to take their permission. If you're using a child in your film, you must take their parents' permission. Otherwise, that film will not be used, and anybody can take you to court saying that you have used a child's picture, or a visual clip. The things that you need to have in case you have an iPhone. So iPhone has lenses you can buy with it. There's a tripod that comes with it. You can also, some phones also have the facility for you to choose the frame rate per second, okay? Frame per second, it's called FPS. So if you have it, try to choose 24 frame per second, okay? That's the one you use normally. If you don't have it, that's okay, don't worry about it. All right, so these are few things. Always keep those few things handy, the white sheet or that silver foil, keep it handy. If you have a light, there are those ring lights which come nowadays. You can use the ring light if you want. I love using natural light when I film, unless I have professional light, because the natural light is honestly the best. It captures the best possible um, texture of your skin or of whatever you're trying to shoot. So also from the start to the end, when you start your music or narrative, give a little gap for people to kind of breathe into it. Don't just start abruptly, right? So fade in, fade out is important. Always give credit to your crew and ask them if they would like to be named in your film. So in the end, you can always give the credits. Okay, it can be a plain slide or you can have rolling one. If you're using iMovie, it will give you those options. All right, and always have a name for your film. It's important. Always have a name for your film. Okay. Any questions now?
Mark, for having the name of the film, so do we need to keep in mind patents because there are like enormous amount of short movies? So
Yes, you have to be just careful that you're not using something which has already been used. Generic words don't really have patent, but like you can't use Rambo clearly. You know, so be a little wary of those. Otherwise, your films, if you're putting them up here, which is for internal consumption only for the group, you don't really need to worry about what name you're using because it's only here. But anything that's going out for public consumption, yes, you need to be sure.
They are going to be they're going to be shown at Kala Ghoda, Supreet.
That's okay. So Kala Ghoda is fine. I mean, just make sure you're not using some of the names which have already been used. You can always Google it and you'll get the answer. I don't expect you to go to the Indian Motion Pictures Association to check the names. So you can Google it, you'll get most of the names. If it's not been used, you'll mostly get the information on Google itself. Anything else? If not, I had one more film, but we don't have time, so I think we'll leave it. Elsa, do we have 6 minutes to show another last film?
Kavita, because I think we do. So let's go ahead. And then we have to complete yesterday's exercise.
Okay, so I'm going to play one film which is 6 minutes and 45 seconds. I want you all now to hold all this information you've got in the last 1 hour. Keep it in your mind when you watch it with an open mind and an open heart. All right? This is made by students, by the way. So I want you to know that. So watch it. It's there are 3 students who made this. Watch the storytelling. Watch the cuts, the edits. Where does he take you from where? Look at the frame.
wonderful sight, isn't it? We should open one, shouldn't we? Why not? A toast to you. Eh? Hmm? That's nice. Yeah. Huh? Christ. You're going, baby, go. Huh? Go, huh? Go, huh? Go, huh? Huh? Time. Time, huh? Time. Yeah, you old fart. That's you. Go ahead. Let her rip. Huh? Let her rip.
All right. So I'm just going to use a couple of more minutes. Does anyone want to share? What did they see in this film? Who was your character? What was the conflict? And what was the pot of gold?
I think it was very subtle. The white shots in the movie were very subtle to show the loneliness the protagonist was going through. And my interpretation is that the second character, which was shown to be the antagonist, was hallucination of the protagonist, of the other side, of the traumatic side that the protagonist was to overcome, which was mainly the conflict he was trying to overcome. And the bird was the goal. He wanted to befriend the bird, so that was the character journey.
That was
And when
nice.
he came into fight with
What was the conflict?
to overcome the frustration and loneliness.
Okay, anyone else? What was the conflict? But that was good, Kushagra. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Companionship.
Sorry?
Companionship.
Companionship. Okay. Nobody saw alcoholism?
Yes, ma'am.
That was his conflict, right? So you're right, Kushagra, that other person, the antagonist, was he when he's drunk. He was trying to fight that part of himself who's an alcoholic. Aishwarya, you wanted to say something? Anybody else who wants to share?
So, like you mentioned, alcoholism was one of the conflicts, and he saw how he behaves when he's alcoholic and the normal self of him. The other part where he was drinking, he saw how he faded away the bird, and that was maybe a shocker for him, like how alcohol can turn him into a very wild person, maybe. So, yeah.
Yes, that was the turning point, right? When the alcoholic self or the antagonist pushes the bird away. That was the turning point for him. So what was the hope? This film shows you hope. Where is the hope?
He was in a mindset that the thing which he consumed finally consumed him, but he want to overcome that. And seeing a real, that the bird brings us kind of real sense of a real touch in the movie. So he want to get back to that real, there was a sort of empathy when the bird looks at him, and also the struggling between him and his mind when which he started finally consumes him, but towards the end he want to get out of that to a real world. That was what I feel.
Right. So see, everyone would have seen this, would have seen different parts as different things. Somebody will see the bird as hope. Like Aishwarya said, it is life which is coming to him, and he's not able to see her clearly. And the moment that his other half, which is the alcoholic half, pushes that life away, reality away, that's when the change happens. So there's still something which is alive in him, or which has been sparked by that bird, by that reality, by life. And that can be the other meaning. So this was made by 3 students, by the way, like I mentioned. So go and Google it, learn. They have written a whole essay on how they made it. Go and read it. It was nominated for Academy Award as well. So please go and read about it. And I'm open to any questions if you have later on as well. You can always write to me. I will put my email ID here. If you need any help from my end, please feel free to get in touch with me. If not, then I'm going to hand over to Kavita. I hope you all have enjoyed and learned something, and I've taken something back today. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kavita.
Thanks a lot, Supreet. That was that was a very great session. And I learned a lot during the session, particularly around thinking about how you shoot things, what are the different media you have to consider when you're making it, what is the story that you're trying to tell, the narrative. So before we go on to the next session, actually what I would like to do is actually run a little video, which is basically a video that, and I'm going to drop that link into chat as well for you. So it's a video that me and a bunch of other friends actually created for a competition, and it's really a silly video. But I think what we're not looking at in this video is the finesse or how excellent the idea is, but more so I think the points that Supreet brought out, about thinking about the narrative, how do you put things together, how do you tell a story? And it's a 3-minute video that we created. And obviously the task over here is to do a shorter video. But I just want to show you like how do you create a video when you think of a problem and how you're coming up with a design solution or a design intervention, so to speak. So I will just share my screen right now and run this video. And I've also dropped the link. Did I drop the link in chat? No. Here it is in chat. So like I said, it's really a silly video. We just did it for fun. It was like we did something like a hackathon where we spent 24 hours working on a design challenge. And we were really tired. And in the morning we were laughing, we were laughing like really ridiculous people. So yeah, and after that, Michael and me are just going to work through the rest of the slides of yesterday. So this is something that we created over here for a competition.
Creating serendipity in smart cities through lucid objects. The idea is, how do you connect local people who are new to the city with the idea of local Brisbaneites? And how do you connect people going forward? From this, we came with the idea of an idea box. On the outside of the box, we thought that we need to have a touchscreen, which would have the ability to provide different languages. Located in a central place, people could discover the box and recognize an experience. The outside would have multiple languages clearly displayed, so people could see how it interacts and know that if they're not a native English speaker, that this is something they can interact with. The screen on the top would allow the person to read the instructions and learn that if they say a phrase such as, "Good day, mate," that something would happen. Upon the clear instructions of this, I'd also let them know they need to find people who speak different languages. Sourcing different people would mean having to interact with new strangers or people they're not normally familiar with. With each person, such as maybe 3 people, unlocking it. As each person comes together, it would force connection. It might take a little bit of difficulty trying to explain to somebody, you have to say that "good day, mate" in a foreign language, such as "konnichiwa domo" and "hola." But upon doing so, you unlock the treasure inside of the box. This leads to cultural artifacts as well as treasure located inside the box. These things are culturally relevant as well as relate to what is happening inside the area where the box is located, as well as other culturally significant areas around the area. Inside, there's a QR code as well as a map that users can interact with. The QR code can link them together to create social connection through a social media app or some sort of connection, while the physical map allows them to see where other things they are. The idea behind having cultural artifacts is that people can play and interact together, and by doing so, it actually fosters the idea of bridging connection, or idea of bonding connection. These 2 things have been shown to actually build resilience and social capital in face of adversity. Once playing together and potentially building connection, the artifact is placed back inside the box and connected. Drafting this idea, we came up with many different iterations of design. We thought about what the box should look like, how it should be complacent, what are the different features, how do we make it accessible to large different people. We came with the idea of a button so people could actually see the experience, having a touch screen going forward. The language was put on the side of the box and on the top of the screen, so that way people would know to actually interact with it without having to Google or interact with the experience to see that it has different languages. We put different cultural artifacts inside, so actually it creates internal engagement as well as reasons for people to play at different locations around the city. The QR codes allow people to connect with others, maybe not in that current experience, but other people also enjoying the experience. By scanning the QR code, it takes them to the website, so there's not a worry about having to transpose or language barrier over copying URLs. The idea behind the design was actually a koala bear, something culturally significant to Australia, as well as to attract attention in those who are not familiar with Australia. We thought this experience box will foster happiness as well as diversity across different groups of people. We thank you for your idea and look forward to seeing what will happen in the future.
Okay, if we just ignore how bad that is, I guess what we want to remember over here is that you can make a video very quickly with the tools you have. with this particular video, we were given the design challenge of trying to figure out how people who are new to a city can actually build social networks. And this seems to be like a thing that just runs through all of my work. Anyways, so how people in a city can, get to, interact with each other so that they build social capital, which enables them to have access to things like jobs. Your friends tell you about jobs. So how do you make new friends basically in a city? And we came up with this little box which would open if there were 3 or 4 people who spoke to the box in different languages, and then it would open, and then you got this thing to play. So in a sense, we mashed up a treasure hunt with trying to solve a problem where people would meet each other in this random way, and they would build connections. So that was basically the premise of this. So this is just a video. So I just want you to think that the videos don't have to be complicated. It can be really simple. Use tools that you already have that are like in your house with what you have. There are a lot of resources that have been shared in chat with you, so I encourage you to also look at those resources. I'm now going to hand over to Michael to take us through yesterday's exercise, the remaining part of yesterday's exercise, and then we're going to do another exercise after that, which will help you think about your video. Yeah, Michael.
Cool, thank you, Kavita. Yeah, so yesterday we kind of left off, we'd had a big brainstorming session, and I think we came up with, some people had 30 ideas, which was crazy, and we narrowed them down to 3. And then some of the homework was to really kind of narrow it down to 1. So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so this is kind of our final step. It says here 20 minutes, but we're going to do it in much closer to 5, maybe 10 minutes max. But I just thought we should pick up where we left off and figure out what our one idea is. So then we can move into how that's going to become this reel or this intervention. And yeah, once we've figured out what our one idea is, then we're probably going to try and do some storyboarding and talk about some of the things that we just went through in terms of the pot of gold and the conflict and the characters and the setting and the different like tools and things that we can use as well, and really try and move this into actually creating a reel out of our idea. But yeah, so I'll put the slides back in the chat again. I also had a video here that I thought I could show, but we might not have enough time. So I think we'll just move forward with this stuff instead. So I'll put the slides back in the chat. And otherwise you might have access to them from yesterday. And in your groups, we'll probably just we'll probably have to set up some breakout rooms. Sorry, I haven't actually done that yet.
Yes, the breakout rooms are ready.
Oh, they're good. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll jump back in the breakout rooms. We'll probably until about 5 past, so about 10 minutes. And we'll just talk amongst our groups and make sure we've got kind of one idea solid. And once we've figured out what that one idea is, then we can move into some storyboarding and really turning it into more of a reel. So yeah, yell out if you have any questions, but really we're just continuing where we left off yesterday and just taking our 3 ideas down into one idea. If you've already figured out what that one idea is, then maybe it's just more about trying to answer some of these questions that we have in the slides. And that will really help us figure out kind of the characters and the setting and turning it into a video as well. So let's open up the breakout rooms and then we'll try and figure out what our one ideas are.
Okay, the rooms are all open. So if you can join your room, please. Thanks.
Hi, can you please help me? I'm unable to jump into the room.
One moment. Which room do you need to be in?
Wings.
I'm Kajal. Sonali, I've moved up.
Thank you, Tanya.
Hi, Shivam.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
But we hopefully just talked about kind of, the characters, the setting, the music, conflict. We didn't need to cover all of these things because I know there's a lot there. But if any of these will help you kind of craft your story, then by all means, I think this is useful. So the last activity we're going to get into today is storyboarding. Now, there's kind of two different types of storyboarding, I think. And in the same way, me and Kavita were just talking, there's actually kind of two different types of videos or interventions. So a storyboard is just a really simple way, kind of like a little comic book to help us talk through a user's journey. So when it comes to design, normally we use storyboarding to understand and visualize a user's problem, and then we can kind of have some context around that problem, and then they have a solution or a way that the problem gets fixed. So in this storyboard, it's clear that Ted wants to give away his couch, but trying to find someone to get rid of it is too expensive. So instead, he can use this app, and then with this app, him and his friend can actually get rid of the couch. So it's a really simple storyboard, but the point of that is that you can just sketch these out. They don't have to be anything too fancy. But so that's storyboarding for when you're designing for something. That's kind of how we use storyboarding, where there's a very clear problem, and then there's a very clear kind of solution that comes out of it, and we sketch it out. The other type of storyboarding that I want to talk about is, I guess, more in the film world, where storyboarding can help us understand what a scene is going to look like, or where we kind of draw out each frame and say, the person's going to be sitting here, and this is kind of the angle that we're going to be filming them at. And so in those sorts of situations, maybe if we had enough frames, we're talking about the problem and the solution, but it's more about actually visualizing what we want to do before we film it. So instead of just getting out our iPhone or our smartphone and pointing it somewhere and hopefully filming something, if we use a storyboard, we can actually kind of sketch out, well, the first shot should look like this, and then the second shot might be from this angle, and these are the two characters that will be in it, and this is the setting. And so I think in that way, it will be really helpful for you. To kind of further that point, in some ways, your intervention might be a story, like we saw the Safe City video. And then in other ways, your intervention might be you've actually come up with something and you're trying to show that off. So I guess I wanted to note that where in the slides, I noticed some teams were talking about like this Hall of Mirror idea. And it seems like it's more of an idea than necessarily a short film. So in this case, I think what you would want to do is use the short films or the short reels to show what your idea is, really similar to what Kavita was showing with her design intervention. And then in other cases, some of the groups have been talking more about actually creating a film. And I would still consider that an intervention in itself. But in this case, obviously, it's more you're going to be creating films like the short films that we were seeing today. I think both of those are okay because they show the design intervention or they show some kind of intervention, or they help improve the situation and address the problem. But either way that you're going to go about it, a really important thing is to come back to this key message, which I've got in the chat, but maybe I'll also come here. So how might we engage people who are otherwise disengaged to make cities safer and reduce street harassment? So if we're going to make a short film that's a story, then in the story, we still want to make it really clear that in this story, we're addressing this question of how might we engage people who are otherwise disengaged. So in our short film, we might have some bystanders and something happening, and then these bystanders end up becoming engaged or intervening, and therefore we're kind of addressing this question. At the same time, as a group, you might have an idea that is just, I guess, trying to solve or answer this question, where you might say, oh, we're designing a platform that is going to engage people who are otherwise disengaged. If you're doing that, then in your video, you don't necessarily have to have a short film, but instead in your video, you're going to show us this platform and how it works and how it's addressing this issue. So I just wanted to clarify that depending on what your intervention is that your group has come up with, your videos might be slightly different, but as long as they're addressing this key question, That's kind of the most important part. But anyway, so back to storyboarding. I've come up with, well, sorry, Kavita actually helped me a lot, but we've got these slides here. And this is great. People are already filling them in. So yeah, with our storyboarding, basically what we want to do is use it as a way to visualize whatever our video is going to be before we actually start filming it. So obviously over the next couple of days, we're going to try and actually turn these into video reels. And just having a little bit of preparation beforehand is going to be really worthwhile. So similar to this one, feel free to fill out these with little pictures or whatever you like, or otherwise in your own kind of Microsoft Word or even just Microsoft Paint, or there's so many tools out there on a pen and paper. You can just start sketching what you think your storyboard's going to look like. We'll probably do this for another like 5-10 minutes or so. But really, it's not important that you finish this storyboard and make it perfect. It's just a tool that I thought would be helpful for you before you go out and film your final interventions. I think that's pretty much.
Usually the storyboard is a starting point. It's usually a plan of what you want to do, and it's good to like always think about something before you actually do it. A lot of times we don't get to do that. So I think like this will save you a lot of time. And a lot of times I've seen that even though I've done a storyboard of an idea, I go and do it, but then in the editing or how I put things together, I still change things. So things are still open to change. It doesn't mean that you just have to stick to the storyboard that you start off with, but it's the starting point to get you going. Yeah,
exactly. We only have to create 30 seconds. I think we said a maximum minute. So these storyboards won't have to be super big either. Yeah.
So we have 30 seconds each for your videos. And what would be good to also submit with that is, I guess on Padlet, what would be good to submit is, things like your storyboard, because if something is not explained in your video well, then we can always go back to Padlet and see like, this is what the team has done, this is what they're thinking. And, if we don't understand something in the video. So do make sure that you're uploading, your work in progress in Padlet so that, the rest of us understand what you're doing or can even advise you on how your videos, give you ideas for your videos. Or how to make it a bit better.
Yeah, we'll be active in the Discord and checking the Padlet and all that sort of stuff. So even if you haven't, or you don't think you finished something, just putting it in the Padlet will help us understand what you were trying to achieve, which will be really valuable.
Yeah, and I also wanted to point out on the last slide of this Google slide, we've put up all the resources that would help you. They're just ideas. Again, nothing's written in stone. These are just references for you, to just read, quickly read through, understand what it is, and, learn from it. There are also resources like free music, for example, free videos that you can get. As long as you're crediting the person who has made it, it is free to use it typically. So do check what kind of licenses there are for the content that you're using. But these two sites usually have free licenses, free content. And I mean, they're not free per se. You need to like credit people. And it's always good practice to credit all your resources, wherever you get information from and things like that, because your work is being built on top of other people's work. Your work did not just come magically to you. It came because you've been exposed to different kinds of things and different kinds of work. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. But then otherwise, that's pretty much it for today. Do you think maybe we open breakout rooms and just leave them open for another 10 or 15 minutes in case teams wanted to work while they're already here in the meeting? But otherwise, I think that's pretty much it from us, right, Kavita?
Yeah, so
sorry, yes, go on.
I just want to reiterate that, everyone, you have to submit it by Monday evening, those 4 videos, and complete all the materials like Kavita said, because when the jury is deliberating, they will want to see all the personas and your ideas, etc. So put it on all on the Padlet. If you're struggling, reach out to the team. They will help you. Tomorrow I have 3 slots for one-on-ones, office hours. I think Shivam is going to work with Michael after this. And Kavita, I think, has a slot on Sunday. So
Yeah.
let us know how we can help. We really would love for you to, not feel stressed, but deliver your best work. Okay. So good luck, everyone. And I'm going to leave, but feel free to hang out in the breakout rooms, etc.
Yeah, I just want to check with people in the room how they found this session. What are their key takeaways? Or have they already gone into breakout rooms? No.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I just want to check with everyone how
I
they
think some
found this
people
session.
have already gone into the breakout rooms.
Oh, really?
I don't think they're open at the moment, so I think it's.
Oh, no, they're not open. You're right. Yeah, sorry, getting confused.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to check with Kanishka, Aishwarya, how are they finding the session?
Yeah, hello, ma'am. I guess it was a really fun session. I love filmmaking, and today I got really deep insights as to how we can make an effective and non-verbal film, that too with a deep impact. Because I have been into this, and I really want to go ahead with the filmmaking thing, because I really want to do something in that field. It's kind of my passion. I love editing, and today I got insights which I think it's very valuable for me, as well as the last session where I picked up the idea and like framed it in a very particular and limited span of time. I guess that was the key highlight for me. And really thanks to you for letting us have this opportunity and be here and mentored by you and the guest who was here today. So yeah, thanks for this amazing session.
Oh, you're welcome. It's our pleasure to work with you. And also like your success is our success. So that's just something that we keep in mind when we do things like this. I can see Kushagra is raising their hand. Sorry, Michael, did you want to say something?
No, it's okay. I'm keen to hear from Kushagra.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I'm really grateful for the amount of effort all of the mentors have put in, the amount of resources we have received. Like this is not, we can not only use this resource in this challenge, but can take it up and reuse this same resources in many more things we do in the future. So I'm really grateful for that, and the amount of effort they must have gone into thinking and designing all of these resources.
Yeah, thank you. We definitely did. I guess I personally hoped that a lot of this stuff wouldn't just apply to this challenge, but you could kind of take all these different skill sets out into everything else that you work with. So I'm really glad that that's the case.
Yes, can
Did anyone else want to?
Yes, Aishwarya. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, Aishwarya. Yes.
So, yeah. So here, like, I was having very good takeaways, by the way, I have to say, because, like, I mean, when it compared to yesterday's session, I would say that today's was more interesting because we were more able to see from Supreet how the impact is. Like, we are directly seeing that now. So there is a sense of like we are able to feel it and then defining how the behind procedures works, how to reach into that. And then there are a couple of things I am when it comes towards the end, because in my I have no team members, so I am trying to take it up individually using some other props or something. So actually I would wanted a session maybe to just check it out, but I'm not too sure on my like timings as well. So that is why.
Yeah, Aishwarya, you're breaking up quite a bit, but I think we kind of got the gist that you really enjoyed today's session.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you've you're getting a lot of ideas from what you've seen today as well. Yeah, that's really good to hear, because different things will work for different people. So some people, all of our brains work differently. So yeah, it's really good to hear that. Yeah, I think thank you so much for being part of this. It's really a privilege for us to be part of this and run these sessions with you and see what it is y'all are thinking and what are your experiences. I think someone is raising a hand again. Shivam. Yes, Shivam. Yeah.
So from the beginning of our session, we are getting to learn something new, which are very innovative, and some of them are challenging too, but we just need to accept the challenge and move on. So that's the main point of view in my perspective. And also today's session was really awesome in my point of view, because it was something we got to know about the lessons from the video which we want to take, the good ones, and the other thing we can say that our workshop, the ideas we need to present in our workshop as well, which will be highlighting the main protagonist and also delivering a good message to the society for the happier environment. So that's all the experience I have been just sharing with these sessions, and hope that it will be going interesting as well.
Thanks a lot, Shivam, for that. Really, really happy to hear that you're really enjoying the sessions. Yeah, definitely. With things like this, I would just say that, what work you put into it, you get that much more out of it. So the more engaged you are, the more you're responding to the activities, the more you're, trying the activities out. There's no right and wrong. You're just experimenting. The more you actually tend to get out of these. So so we're really looking forward to seeing all of your work.
So there, my query, I was having my session with Michael, right, today?
Yes, that's right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And I'll just send you a message on Discord actually, and we can just do it over there. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess that brings us to the end of today's session. Would anyone, Michael, would you like to add anything?
I don't think so. No, I'm just really excited to see everything that comes out, I guess. Again, I would say feel free to reach out to us on Discord if there's any issues or you have any questions or anything like that. I check it all the time, so I'll be more than happy to help where I can. Otherwise, just a reminder that it's all due on Monday, and everything you put in the Padlet will help us and will help the jury kind of understand what you're thinking. So the more stuff in the Padlet, the better. And I think that's pretty much it for me.
And now we see you on the 10th. So unless you booked office hours, we won't see you one-on-one, but as a group, we see you on the 10th. Please invite your friends as well to come, because it's going to be a very interesting session to see some of the, solutions, and also we are going to pick 3 winning ideas. I mean, all of them will be great and showcased at Kalaghoda, but we have to pick 3 of the best ones. And we'll have a little discussion on it. So do come, and we'll be sending you the link as well for the session on the 10th. So thank you, everyone. Aliyah and Grace, and do you want to say a few words before we end it?
Hi, Elsa. Sorry. The eternal mute button dilemma. My apologies. Thank you for inviting us to say a few words. We'll leave the long thank yous to the end, but it seems like from the discussions today, everything from the inspiration that I think all the little films provided through each of you working through the details, and it feels like these next few weeks are going to be equally action-packed, if not more than the ones that we've spent together, through these online sessions. So just wishing all the participants the very best from us at the Australian Consulate General, and to each of you here and all the resource persons from a thank you as well from Alia, myself, and the Australian consulate. And good luck, everyone. Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will see 3 teams tomorrow and look forward to all your submissions on Monday. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.